Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on our onboarding facility. Obviously, this is the latest webinar in a series of webinars that we've been delivering, just trying to assist users really in making sure that you're using all the functionality that accountancy managers are able to offer. So obviously, I'm not going to be demonstrating the system today. I'm going to be leaving that to my colleague, Rachel. Rachel, thanks very much for joining us today.
No problem, Jonathan. Just find my unmute button there.
There we go. Obviously, I'm seeing some chat messages coming in already. That's great to see that that people are here and can hear us. If you've got any questions as we go through the session today, if I could ask you to drop them into the Q&A box, that would be really helpful. That just enables me to be able to collate all the questions, and I'll be asking those of Rachel at the relevant time. Yes, good morning, everybody. Great to see so many people on today's session. Today's session, again, has had an unbelievable sign-up rate. I think it just demonstrates the fact that our onboarding facility is so integral to the usage of Accountancy Manager, and it's essential that really that you utilise it to its full extent. Look, that's enough from me. I suppose we're all here to hear from Rachel. So, Rachel, I suppose over to yourself.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Okay, so I'm just going to start by sharing my screen. Okay, so you should all be able to see client file on screen here.
We've got it, thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to start to begin with by looking at adding some fee structures on Accountancy Manager. It's just a little time saver, so when you're onboarding your clients, you can just save that little bit of time in getting those added. So you'll find these under settings. Just click new fee structure. And if you sort of have a sort of standard billing rate for most of your clients, you can just add the details in here. So we'll just drop a couple in just to demonstrate it. Click Save. So we'll come back to those in just a second, but that's how you get them added in. So now we're going to add ourselves a limited company client. Okay, so we're going to use our autofill with company's house feature, which is quite handy for getting all of the details and the dates in without you having to go and rifle around for them. And you can see here, this particular installment, but it's got all the details here. So we'll select this company. It's going to give us the option to apply one of the directors as the main contact if we want to. We can change that as well if we want to as well, manually. So you can see now it'll drop in all of the dates and all of the company details. Again, just saving you guys a little bit of time. And then to apply our fee structure for this client, we'd say services required, and we'd pick our fee structure from the list. You've still got the option at this point to edit it. So you can say, oh, you know, this customer's a little bit different. It's not going to cost quite as much to do that for them. But it has saved a few minutes in working all those details out. If you've got something like gold, silver, and bronze packages, you can have those saved there. So if you're offering different packages for different clients, saves you typing them out each time. And then to set up that client, we're also going to use our onboarding workflow task as well. So you've got the option just to add client, or you can click this arrow, and it's going to create a task to onboard this client too. The breakdown for this is stored as default under settings and then templates, so you can tweak it and amend it. You've also got the option here to, if you wanted to just take a few bits out and tweak it, you can do that before you add it in. And you can change the deadline as well. So we might not want next week. We might want a date a little bit further in the future to finish onboarding this client. And it may not be the staff member you want to assign the task to, it may be another one. So it just helps you keep everything together and keep on top of getting all those bits and pieces you need in order to get that client onboarded. Yeah, so you can see now I've got my task for that, and I can tick those items off as I do them. Obviously, another important part of bringing on a brand new client is to get your AML bits and pieces in order for them. So we'll buy some credits.
It's worth stating at this stage that the credits do get cheaper the more you buy. It's on a sliding scale. So, so there is yeah, so there is.
They do. Sorry, John, I should have gone through that bit. Save. So you can see here the minimum. This is the minimum purchase, but like you say, John, the more you buy, the cheaper they get. It'll show you above as well exactly what the rate is per credit. So if you're buying 330, it's £1.50 a credit, whereas it's £2.50 if you're buying 55. If you're buying these credits as well, Accounts Manager doesn't actually put like a best before date on them. So if you wanted to make a real saving and buy in bulk, I think the cheapest we do them for is, yeah, there we are, 500 credits, then £1.25 plus VAT per check. And if that's going to last, yeah, if you've not got loads of clients and that's going to last you 2 or 3 years, we're not going to take them off you.
And that came as a question, actually, Rachel, and you answered it without it being raised. So, yeah, so we got asked if there's expiry date of the credits. No, there's not.
A lot of places do put expiry dates on, so it's a very valid question. So we'll take a look at doing a check. As we do a new AML check, you can do a company credit check. So, if you're a little bit worried they might not pay you, or they might be a little bit dodgy, you might want to do a company credit check. We're going to do an AML ID check today, though. Okay. And this is a demo account, so although I've picked James Dickinson, it's going to run it on a guy called John Smith when we actually come to run it. So there's only a few fields you have to choose, but obviously they will mark with an asterisk. You've got the option to add additional data as well. So you can add phone numbers. It'll check, make sure those phone numbers are valid. National insurance numbers, passport numbers, driving license numbers. For the passport number, you can check any passport. Globally, all passport numbers are the same, and there's a little guide to show you, what goes in what box basically on there. With the driving licenses, they will only check them for England, Wales, and Scotland. In Northern Ireland, the driving license numbers are in a different format to the rest of the UK. So it's only possible to check Scotland, Wales, and England. You've got the option to do a credit screen at this point as well. Obviously, legally speaking, you have to let your client know you're planning to perform a credit screen because it's going to leave a soft print on their credit file. And then you can see it's just 1 credit if you're performing an ID check, or 2 credits if you're going to do a credit screen as well. And there we are, they don't take long. And you can see here, this one has failed. And it's possible for us to download that and have a little look. Can you see the PDF there, John?
Yes, I've got you.
Yeah. Okay, so you can see it's going to give the client a score, and it's going to go through each bit. So it'll check the address with Equifax, Nexus, Lexus, Experian, and the electoral roll. And it's going to let you know exactly where it's not been able to find this person. So you see there, it wasn't able to find their date of birth with the credit reference agencies. It's a fairly comprehensive check for a quick digital AML check. Do we have any questions on this so far? Or?
Yes, so I'll just stop you there, and we'll address some of these ones that have come in. So so we've had the question: do you have to add the client before doing the AML?
You don't know. So if you're sort of just meeting someone absolutely prospectively, you've not even sort of nailed them as a lead yet, you can run an AML check on them before even adding them as a client. If you do add them as a client, then this is going to appear on their client file. So under the risk tab, it'll keep all these documents together for you. So it's prudent to add them as a client. So you've got that record. If someone comes back to you in 6 months' time and says, why didn't you take this person on? You've got all these failed AML checks to go back to, but you don't have to have them added as a client.
Just a message to all attendees. If you want to submit the questions in the Q&A box, that that helped make sure we're addressing them all. Sometimes the chat box can get a little bit messy, so that's the best place to put them. So we've had another question come in here. We use AML to send out the proposal emails first. At this point, we don't know whether the client is going to become a client or not. Is there an option to set up the onboarding tasks after the client has already been set up?
There is. So what you can do is set up, you can make your own task breakdown template, basically. So you can say new template, task breakdown template, and you could just create your own onboarding template. So if we just do one as a test here. And then we can just save that. You can also just copy and paste ours and create it as an onboarding template. And then at any time you want to, then you've got the option to select the name of the client. And you can apply your template that you've created there. So yeah, and it means obviously it gives you the flexibility as well. If you're setting it up after the client's been added, you can have different onboarding templates as well if that's the process you're following.
We've got a couple of questions about whether they check international passports or not. So for instance, do we check international passports? Like EU is fine, but Mexican is not, for instance.
Oh no, we check international passports. Any passport can be checked through Accountancy Manager, any passport at all. So if we look again at the AML checks, the ID ones, the only limitation you've got with our AML checks is where that person resides. So this country is a UK. We're going to say this person's a UK resident, but you could say this person lives in Austria. The pricing for international checks is a little dearer. You can only do an ID check. You can't do a credit screen, and you can see it's 2 credits then instead of 1 credit for an ID check. If the person is living in the UK, it is a UK AML check. If they have an American passport or an Australian passport or a Thai passport numbers are exactly the same. So you can check any passport if they're a UK or international resident.
And is there a way of doing an enhanced check?
The only enhanced check we do is with the credit screen. So you can do the credit screen and ID check.
Okay, excellent. We had a question about how can a credit check fail if on the date of birth if that's being pulled from the passport? We got any advice regarding that?
That is an interesting one. So it may be so the date of birth that's held by Equifax or another credit agency may be incorrect. So the way those agencies work is if someone goes and applies for credit, so they pop into town, they apply from a mobile phone, you're relying on the person in that shop to take down that date of birth correctly. So when they're running that credit check, they'll submit the details they've given to Equifax. If those details are incorrect, then the details Equifax have got are correct. So I'd say if you've put in like a date of birth and you know it's correct, you've seen it on their passport, but they're failing on the credit reference agencies, I'd advise your client to contact the credit reference agency directly, because it may be the details held by Equifax or Experian are inaccurate and they need to be corrected.
Excellent, thank you. And I've got a user that's saying that they're having issues when entering the passport details into this template that is getting rejected. So they've tried it several times. That to me, Rachel, sounds like perhaps one where just need to get in touch with the support team, because obviously this facility does work and it works for lots of users. Perhaps might just be a little one-on-one support might be needed in that instance.
Yeah, I'd say the one thing that people do fall down on is if you look at this box here, it's got some grayed out digits in the background. So that's just to show you the format. One thing a lot of people don't realize they need to do is actually type in the chevrons. So however many, it's 14 on a UK passport, but the fact that it's grey doesn't mean it's auto-filled. You have to type it in. And that is because it can be slightly different depending on if the passport's international. You might actually find there's 4 numbers, 5 chevrons, and then a letter in that box. So if you're running a check on a UK passport, you need to make sure you put your 14 chevrons in there and you need to type them in yourself.
Perfect, thank you. So we had a question coming saying, are there any plans to introduce international AML checks where the directors do not reside in the UK? This has happened when we checked a Mexican director who was residing in Spain.
So yeah, these are the international checks here. So you can select the country they're living in here. If they're a Spanish resident, then you'd select Spain from the list. I don't think we've got, yeah, it's no Mexico on here, but Spain should certainly be on there. If the country isn't covered in Accountancy Manager, unfortunately, you'll have to do the check elsewhere. Our AML ID checks are run by Verify. So if they haven't got an agreement with another body in that particular country, then it's not possible to run the check through Accountancy Manager.
Cool. Okay. Off AMLs now, Rach, we're going back to the task breakdown. Somebody's asked, can we customize the task breakdown items?
You can for the onboarding task. It's under templates, and it's down the bottom here. So this is the one that's automatically generated when you do it off the client's file, and you can edit, bend and shape, as with all of our templates, this template to be whatever you want it to be.
I've had somebody say, how do we get the onboarding template to show when adding a new client? Just want to quickly run through that.
Yeah, sure. So it's just off the add client button. Instead of pressing add client, you just click the little menu option next to it.
Perfect. On these services required, when we start starting to pull together the proposal, can they be rearranged? For example, can confirmation statement be at the top?
They can't. No, this is a set order.
Okay. And we just have a question that says, how does the prospects work? So without leaving lots of unsigned clients. So is there anything you can advise on managing prospects with AM?
Yeah. So that was going to be the next bit, was going to be sending a proposal out to your clients. So we're going to go back to British Gas Limited. Okay, so to actually get the client on board, once you're happy with them, you'd send them a proposal email. Of course, I've not entered an email address. Or, let's just update that there. So yeah, should let us send the proposal email now. Again, you can shape this proposal email. The template again is held under settings and then templates. You can see it's going to list out the fees that you've entered. You've got the option to show those without VAT. Add the VAT on. You could not show the fees at all and just have an annual figure at the bottom there if you wanted to. And then when the client's ready to sign up with you, they just follow the online registration process link. And that would ask them to sign off all of their letters of engagement in Accountancy Manager and then register for the portal. Once they've signed off the letters of engagement in Accountancy Manager, what it'll do is it'll come under here under registration and it'll tick on term signed registration fee paid. So this is the trigger for whether they're a prospect or a client. If this is off, they're a prospect. If this is on, they're a client. And it does trigger automatically once they've signed the letter of engagement with you. Once they have signed off on their bits and pieces as well, you've also got the option here to automate your previous accounts clearance. We do know not everybody does it once the client signed the letter of engagement. Some people do it before, but in AM, it'll only trigger if the person has been marked as a client rather than a prospect. So you can again just say clearance is required. You'd enter in the details of the previous accountant. Say we want to send the clearance email today. We've got the option as well to request it weekly, daily, if you really want to bother them. I can't imagine many people use that option. And once that's done, that should drop an email into the queue for us. It can take a second, this one though, provided I have put in all the details. I didn't tick on terms signed, did I? That would do it. Yeah, so they're still down as a prospect. Okay. But we did look at these on our automation webinar a few weeks ago. So I'm just going to set that back to blank so I don't confuse things. So clearance required today. So this is a demo account, so I'm not entirely convinced it's going to generate it for me because it doesn't have the same automation as it would on a live account. But it would ordinarily on your accounts at home generate a previous accounts clearance message for you to send out to the previous account. And there it is. It was just taking a little bit longer than usual. And you can see here, again, these templates are completely customizable. So we'll go and take a look at the previous accounts clearance templates. Yeah, so you've got one here for limited companies, one for your self-assessment clients, and for any others, so partnerships, limited liabilities, trusts, charities, for example. Again, as with all our templates, these are completely customizable. So you can, put out to these clients whatever message you do want. If you need something really specific off that previous accountant, while it's in the queue here, you can just pause that email and then edit it. So you can, rather than using the standard template, you can just tweak it a little bit if you need to.
Perfect. Thanks, Rachel. Do you want to stop for a few questions?
Yeah, sure.
There's been a couple come in. So we're in the comments saying, is it possible to get a copy of the automation webinar somewhere? I'll tell you what I do, Andrew. I will, going forward, every time somebody signs up to one of these webinars, we always send them the recording at the conclusion of the session. I'll include a link to all previous sessions that we've done as well on every email going forward. So we've always got history of that. So you'll get one later today. So that's done. Jennifer's asked, can the individual services listed be deleted? I think this is referring to when we're selecting the services that we want to be quoting for.
So you can't delete them off the client's file, but say if you were a bookkeeper, for example, and you didn't do Companies House accounts or confirmation statements or CT600s, you can come to your account settings and any of our standard services here you can turn off. So because actually I don't do CT600s, I don't do these, I don't do charity commission returns, I don't do auto enrollment, confirmation statements, and that will shrink that list under services required on the client's file. I would be wary if you're an existing customer and you're turning these off. It does give you a warning when you do go to update your settings that if you're turning these services off and you've got tasks presently, it is going to turn that service off for all of your clients and strip out all of those tasks. You'll have to go and manually put them back in again. So I'd only turn settings off, these service settings off on your account if you're absolutely certain that you don't want the tasks or for them to appear on letters of engagement proposals or on the client's file.
Okay. Can you use your own list of services required, manually added to the proposal email and automatically import only the monthly amounts that you intend to charge?
You can't import the amounts, but you could, if you wanted to, you could turn all of these off, all of them, and you can add custom ones. So I'm just going to pop in custom service just as a custom service there. I'll leave that one on and that one on just because we have that client with those on already. Maybe we'll just turn a couple of others off. Add a couple more custom services. We might say two, and then we're just going to click save. There we are, as the warning. When you do it, if you're sure, we can't put it back for you. And if we go now back to that client, you'll see under services required, that whole service list has changed. So we don't have the big long list we had before, and we've got our custom ones here too. So you can replace any of our standard services with custom services. The ones I'd be inclined not to replace are the ones that are linked to Companies House. So your account CT600 and confirmation statements, because Accountancy Manager will link to Companies House for those and ensure the details for those tasks are completely up to date on a daily basis for you. So I'd recommend using ours for those, but any of the others you're welcome to swap out for a custom service. You can also, with the proposal, you can manually edit the proposal as well. So if we knock this client back to prospect status. So this is, again, controlled by a master template. There's one for self-assessments and partnerships and one for limited companies and everything else. You can do whatever you want with this. So you can take out services, you can put in services, whatever you want to do. The way Accountancy Manager works is when you turn a service on and you enter a deadline, you're going to get a task for that. So every time you complete that task, it'll then roll on to the next deadline. That's why we'd encourage you to use, use the services to drive this list rather than just free typing your own, because you might miss a deadline if you've just typed something in here but you've not generated a task for it.
Right, you just ticked up actually a couple of questions there, Rachel. So Mia, this is how you can edit the proposal templates on an individual client basis, but actually in the template section, you can edit the master template as well, which this email is drawing upon. And yes, you can toggle to have the VAT showing or not on the toggles above. So
Absolutely.
That's that one sorted. And Hannah, in regards to your question, Hannah asked, how do you change a client from how do you mark a prospect as a client? And that was in that accepted the terms services button that we just saw before. It
is, yes. It's under registration at the bottom right of every client file. Like if they agree to the services, if they sign the letter of engagement, it'll turn on automatically for you. If they're an existing client and you're just adding them into AM, so you've done all of that stuff outside of AM, you just tick that on.
Perfect. Is there a way for prospect deadlines not to appear in the task list?
That's a really good question, because they've just refreshed the task list. I have not been in the office, so I haven't had much of a chance to play with it. So we'll have a look. Let's explore if it's on. Yeah, okay.
Here we go. This is a sneak peek for people who haven't seen the new revised task list. This is available now within your system, and it's just a toggle at the moment on and off.
Because I did ask for that. A lot of people ask for, can you get rid of the prospect tasks? And you can. Look at that. Client status, prospects or clients. So you can now filter your task list to filter out the prospects. The prospect tasks have always traditionally been included in Accountancy Manager, so that when you're adding a prospect, you can see how their workload is going to fit with your existing workload. But it's obviously sort of a can you see the woods for the trees kind of situation if you've got a lot of prospects in and you're trying to see that through client work. So that has been popped into our latest update.
Brian's asked, can we upload prospect and engagement letter proposals? So yes, you can certainly upload the engagement letters. I think that's what that question is trying to get at there.
If they've not been done through Accountancy Manager, then yeah, you can just add a client and drop in the letters of engagement and proposals you've already got in place for them if this is a new system for you. Or if you're an existing user, obviously you can do that at any time if you want to as well.
Okay, so when clients click the link to register online and they sign the letter of engagement, can it be set so they have to upload documents / complete certain information boxes before they can sign up? We've got clients who sign up but don't populate all the information that they need, such as UTR number, for instance.
It's not possible to make them. You can prompt them to do it, and there's no prompt for documents, for example. It's one of those things you'd want to include maybe in the proposal. You need to supply, in order for us to work with you, you need to supply your ID. The next phase was going to be to have a little look and see how the client actually onboards. So that's probably a good place to head to if we're starting to get questions on that. I'll just cover a couple of other bits though before we go in. So with our proposals, you can opt to include the PDF 64.8 request, or you can do 64.8 requests directly through Accountancy Manager as well when you're onboarding your client to get authorization to file for them. So you can see for this client here, I had corporation tax turned on as a service. So it's allowing me to submit a corporation tax 64.8 through to HMRC. These work in exactly the same way as if you'd submitted it through the gateway. So you submit it through here, you'll get a message in Accountants Manager and via email. And those messages are directly from HMRC saying whether or not they're going to be able to successfully process that request. If they can't process it, they'll say that your client needs to update their details or something along those lines. Like I said, as part of the onboarding process, that's a really fabulous tool. When you get the code, though, you do have to put it in the gateway. So the HMRC post your client the code. The client has to come back to you with the code. At the minute, HMRC don't have any way for us to link for those codes, so you just pop it into the HMRC gateway there.
I think we're just also informing everybody that somebody's having an emergency somewhere nearby our office. we're situated on a main road in Warwick where the emergency services frequent quite regularly.
Yeah, A&E is literally round the corner.
Yeah,
isn't it? It's literally a 3-minute drive from here.
Yeah, those of you that spoke to us previously will have heard that before. Anna's asked, what will prospect clients receive automated emails?
You do have to send the proposal yourself. So yeah, they don't get automated emails. So if you're talking about record requests, if that's what you mean, things like record requests and reminders, prospects are excluded from those. So you're not going to send a record request out to someone you're not doing work for, basically. So those are automatically excluded from the list. There's no automatic chasers for proposals, but if you come under My Settings, is an option here, and you can set up a reminder, basically. So if you and that client haven't exchanged an email, in this case in 7 days, you'd get a notification as the client manager to say, you know, that you need to follow up with this prospect. Again, that day is manual, so you can say, actually, I don't want to bother every week. I'm going to bother them every couple of weeks to try and get them on board, or you can be a bit more eager and say, I'm going to bother them every 3 days.
Okay, so Sue's asked, can we print out information downloaded by the client to the website, such as Excel spreadsheets and bank statements?
Yeah, if they've uploaded those documents for you, you can download those from Accountancy Manager. They just sit on the client's document tab, and you'll have the option to download anything they've uploaded there for you. And then you can do with it as you wish once you've downloaded it.
Louise is saying that she's submitted a support question this morning because she went to send out the terms and conditions and letter of engagement for a company, but only but it didn't get letter of engagement. It does sound like something that the support team will be able to assist you on. I'm sure we'll come back to you very shortly on that. And again, I suppose the point again is that anything that you are struggling with using the system, obviously we host these sessions try and help you, but please do feel free to call the support team at any points. Rachel, you and your team are in the office every day and available, aren't you?
We are, yeah. They're a little bit busy this morning. The lads are just catching up because I've been out for a couple of days as well. So yeah, we should get around to that one hopefully shortly for you, Louise.
Now, Rachel, there's a question here about the new task list, and I know you've probably not had much oversight of it at the moment, particularly because you've just been out of the office. But do you know, in the new task list, is there a way of using the time log feature like in the other task list?
There should be, is my thought on that. Let's see. Just be a case of working out where they've hidden it. Yes, here we are. So under the little pencil. So it hasn't got a direct button on. I think we have had that in feedback. I'm sure the guys have mentioned that in passing, that people are missing the one-click time log button, but if it's hiding under this pencil button for you at the minute, you can see it just there.
We are very much welcoming feedback on the new task list at the moment. You will notice we've not made a particularly big splash about it because it is still in beta stage, and you can toggle it on and off just whilst we're still obtaining that sort of feedback from users. So please do toggle it on, have a look at it, and let us know what you think. Yeah,
and the feedback button is literally just here, so you just click it. Obviously, the more information, if something's upsetting you about it, the more information you can give us as to why and what will be better. That's the more helpful it'll be for our guys. And they are, I mean, they've made, I've not been in since last week, but they've made several changes to the layout here since it was first put out there. So they are listening.
Rachel, how do we delete or archive old prospects or ex-clients?
It's the same whether they're an old prospect or an ex-client. So you just come over to the client's file and you would click the remove button. You've got the option to archive to your no longer a client list. So you'll see in AM, you've got 3 lists. You've got your client lists, that's all your active people, your prospects, all those you've not got yet, and you're no longer a client list. So if you archive, they'll just certainly be a no longer a client list, or you've got the option to simply just scrub them off your account completely by deleting them. And that's in the same place for both prospects and clients. If you're missing that button, that'll be because your boss has stopped access to it for you. So if you do need it, you'll have to have a chat with your boss about getting it turned back on again.
We've had users says they're using Go Proposal here for engagement letter and terms and conditions. How would they get the client to fill in their details to sign up to the portal without having to sign the engagement letter in Accountancy Manager?
So if you're integrated with Go Proposal, you can under account settings. You can actually disable the letters of engagement in Accountancy Manager. So you can say, I don't want letters of engagement through AM. The client, if you're integrated with Go Proposal as well, that blue send proposal button we saw before will have an option for you, a little drop down again saying send from Go Proposal, and that will take you through to Go Proposal site to actually send it out. Once the client has signed off on the proposal and the letter of engagement, it'll then update Accountancy Manager and it'll drop those documents in on the timeline and on the client's file for you. At the moment, though, to register them on the AM portal, you'd have to come back to AM and you can send them a registration email from here, so clients people. So this is a way of asking your clients to join the portal without proposing fees to them. And you can just, again, these are ultimately as editable as you like. And you can edit them before sending as well as editing the master template. And this just asks your client to pass over any missing information. Like I said, it asks, it can't make them, sadly. And then they just register for the portal that way. So that step would need to be done sort of after the fact if you're integrated with Go Proposal.
So this is the answer to this, Rachel. We're going to do the workflow, to be honest with you, our new workflow feature that's coming out shortly. But the task breakdown has a checkbox. But is there an option to have comments against subtasks to show the progress notes?
There isn't at the minute. The new workflow, the reason for the task revamp, the revamp of the task list, is to facilitate the new workflow feature that's going to be coming out. It's literally in the last stages of testing. So we're hoping we'll have a release date for it shortly. It will allow you to have, instead of just having that basic breakdown with a tick next to each one, you'll be able to assign a different item on that breakdown to each staff member. You'll be able to group some of them. You'll be able to say what deadline you want those bits and pieces done. So all of those tick box items will be infinitely more malleable. You won't, just have to work to the end deadline. You can have deadlines within a deadline.
I've got a couple of questions on reporting here. Can you generate a time logged report for a single client?
It's a little bit tricky at the moment. It is possible. Report may be a strong word. So if you've got time logged in Accountancy Manager, you've got the option. They all show here, all time logs show here. And you've got the option to export all, and then you can filter in Excel. We are aware that that could be a little bit nicer. So again, another reason for revamping the task list is to give greater depth of reporting in Accountancy Manager. That has been thought of while we've been developing that new feature. So for sort of tasks, time, fees, invoicing, there should be some improvements that we're going to sort of start working on towards the end of this year once these other big projects are out of the way.
And that's a similar note really on the next it's more feedback that we've been provided here by Louise, saying that she'd like to see improved reporting from the system in regards to the number of new prospects coming onto the system, clients that have come on board and clients that have left. And again, it's more feedback for us really to take on board and work that into our future development plans.
Yeah, we'll certainly get that feedback passed over. Like I said, the initial reporting is going to be looking at the profitability of your practice in the first instance, but obviously once that's out, we can then start to look at the finer details, such as sort of onboarding times and churn of customers.
Rachel, if we reset letters of engagement to the Accountancy Manager default ones, will it reset for all clients who have already signed bespoke letters of engagement?
If they've already signed them, then the static copies of those customized letters would be kept on their client file. They wouldn't be asked to sign a new one if you reset, if that's what you mean. The reset button just resets the template. So in real time, any client signing after that would be asked to sign the new version, not the older version.
Is it possible to get a plan of services report from the system?
Not entirely sure what's meant by that, to be honest. So you can.
I'm not entirely sure either. And with some queries like this, if they are quite specific, but again, please feel free to call the support team.
Yeah, we're always happy to look into anything.
Yeah. How can we export recently onboarded clients' postcodes, house name, basically their address details, into separate cells so that we can mail them a practice brochure?
So Accountancy Manager stores addresses in one cell. So it's not possible to export them out of Accountancy Manager into several cells. What I would say is you can export all of that data from the client list. So you can say, I want to add, so we'll say address, help if I could spell today. So yeah, we'd say postal address, add a column. That'll, if I haven't got any in, because this is a demo account, but you could export the postal address from here. There are functions in Excel that will then allow you to delimitate that data out, either using gaps or commas or however you've got them set up. So it's possible once you've exported it to Excel, but it's not possible in AM.
Excellent. Paul's asked, if we're moving from one cloud to yours, do we move all our clients' files to your system? Paul, so I suppose apologies if this isn't quite in depth. The session is designed for existing Accountancy Manager users. We would love the opportunity, if you're not yet an AM user, to talk to you about that process, about getting set up and coming on boards. And Rachel, you and your team, you help people getting on board with the system, don't you?
We do, yeah. And if you've got an existing client base, you can, when you're importing clients to AM, there is actually a column where you can say that person's a prospect, not a client. So you can get your entire current data set in. So you can import all of your clients and all of your prospects all in one go if you want to.
Can you search a task by its task name?
Should be able to. See? Yes, we've always had this search tasks box, and a lot of people have missed it. So we've put it really obviously. If you're looking at the old version, see, it's here, hidden. There we go. On the new task list, it is here, a little bolder there, right at the top, and you should be able to search using keywords here. So if we say, just the word client, so we can see we've got a task with client in the name there. We say, yeah, there it is. So yeah, you can. The new search options are quite good. You can apply multiple filters as well. So searching for something by, I mean, if you were looking for private limited companies and you just wanted to see the ones with, say, CT600, you can now filter for that, and also with a particular manager. So there should be a little bit more. Because that's on there, isn't it? There should be a little bit more sort of flexibility now in searching for tasks of a very particular type. But if you get stuck, obviously let us know.
And Barry just said, can we separate prospects that have not signed from live prospects? I'm assuming that the question there means prospects and clients, I would assume. And you can do that just literally on that screen we're looking at there.
Client status there. Yeah, I mean, AM does separate out prospects and clients because it assumes, that the prospects are going to be sending them proposals and chasing them up, whereas clients are going to be sending them, records requests, all sorts of reminders, tax payment reminders, that sort of thing. So it, for the things where it knows you're actively doing the work for that client, it'll only engage them with the things you're actively doing for them.
Lisa's just spotted that her task list doesn't look like this, doesn't have this search box. Do you want to just quickly show how to toggle on and off the new task list, which is currently still in beta stage?
So yeah, this should be at the top for everyone. So we just click tasks, it's just at the top here. And that's the old view, and this is the new one. And you can just flick between the two for now as well. So if there's a, like say if you want to feedback to us anything you don't like about the new task list, you can still use the old one while we make those sort of last little tweaks before it settles down.
Perfect. Okay, Rachel, have you got anything else to demonstrate? I'm just conscious it's great to see so many questions come in, but what I don't want to do is miss out the opportunity for you to continue demoing what you have planned.
And we were going to have a quick look, and it should hopefully blast through. We're going to have a quick look at what happens next for your clients. So we've had a look at the proposals. We're now going to have a look at the letters of engagement. They're down the bottom here. Okay, so you can have registration terms on the Accountancy Manager. If your practice has separate registration terms, you're welcome to add those. Each contact will be asked to sign those before moving on to the letters of engagement. The letters of engagement are also stored here. The letters of engagement we've got are based on guidance from the ACCA. We also get a solicitor to look over them annually, so they're always as up to date as they can be. Again, here you've got the option, if you've got one already, you can just copy and paste it into the sections. Or obviously you can make use of our standard one if you're happy with that, and that's going to cover you. You've also got the opportunity to brand them as well. So we'll take a quick look at that. Let's pop your logo in and change the size of it. The branding on the letters of engagement, that is only seen if the client downloads the PDF version, or if you download the PDF version. So you'll see on the client's file, you've got the LOE tab here. So again, if you're doing something really specific for that client, the master template may not be completely adequate here. You can tweak it just for this individual client. You can completely customize it. If you want to as well, you can if you've got a client who's going to do it by post, they're getting rarer and rarer, but they are out there. You can download a PDF copy, so you should be able to see that there. And that is exactly, if your client downloads it, this is exactly how they'd see it. So we're going to take a quick look at what happens when your client actually comes to sign up with you. So here the client will see all of the registration terms you've got there. There's just 1 second. I'm just going to check what this client's name is so I can actually sign these bits and pieces.
Whilst you're checking that, I'm just going to say, so this is what the client would see when they click the button to say complete online registration process in the email that would have got sent from Accountancy Manager detailing the services and the fees that you'd like to charge. This is then what they are presented with. So they go through the process of signing the terms, conditions and letters of engagement, and then they get asked to set up a password for their client portal.
And here you can see this is the letter of engagements. They've signed the registration terms, that PDF we saw before. So the unsigned version can be downloaded here by your client if they want a copy for their records. It might be better just to download the signed version now. And then this will take us into the client portal.
Just whilst you're doing that, Rachel, I'm just going to address Imran's question. Yes, you are going to get a copy of this recording. We will send it out at the conclusion of this session. It'll probably land in your inbox this afternoon. And we've also had a question coming saying, is there a free trial period available? Which is again great to see non-Accountancy Manager users coming on and having a look at the system. Yes, indeed, there's a free 30-day trial period. So please do sign up, and the team would be happy to assist you.
Well, yeah, and with our trial periods as well, you don't get like a sort of crippled version of the software. You get the full thing, so you're welcome to get it as set up as you want to during that 30-day period. Really make the most of it. But we can see here when the client first comes into their portal, they are asked for. You can skip the stage again. This is under account settings, but you can ask them for all their bits and pieces. They can provide you a company email address. You'll have noticed in the email that have been like, you're missing this, you're missing that. They can drop in their details. So they can add their postal address for you, their national insurance number. It doesn't make them, sadly, but they are asked for it. If they've said you've never ask them for these details. You probably have, unless you've got the option to skip these turned off. If the client was to make an update to this, the person named as the client manager would get a notification. So if you had their national insurance number and for some reason on this page they gave you their phone number instead, it would tell you. It would be like it's changed from this to this, and you can police what they're changing. And you'll always have a record of that on their client file as well. So once the client's happy with their details, they just click continue. This brings them through to their client portal. You can see here you've got a welcome page. This can be used in place of like a welcome email, if you like. So if there's details about your practice you want your clients to have access to whenever they log in, again, this is under on your account settings templates, and it's the portal welcome page. So you can amend this if you want to make it completely relevant to your practice. And then they've got all of their details here. So anytime if they were to change their address, they can pop in here and update their details for you on their document portal. So if this person had more than one client file, these would all be listed out here. So if you're uploading documents for them or they're uploading documents for you, hopefully it's clear where they need to be uploaded to. They've also got the option to view their signed LOE at any point they want to. They can either view it on screen or download it. Any deadlines you've entered for them, so it'll tell them, what the period end is for this particular accounts job and when it's due in by, so they can check their deadlines if they're worried whether or not their period end has passed yet. Their tax liabilities, they can check if you've actually entered them on their client file. So for corporation tax, self-assessment, VAT, they can come here any time of the day or night instead of asking you for those details.
Excellent. We just, Imran, I'm just going to come back to your question. Yes, there will be a recording of this, and we're going to share it at the conclusion of the session. So, so it's going to mark that once complete. We've had questions about what sort of training do we provide. These sort of sessions are kind of what we're trying to do to try and deliver some sort of additional support to users. Obviously, the team are always available to assist you as and when you need them. So please do feel free to give them a call at any time.
Absolutely. We've also got when we're out of hours, we are in all week, but out of hours, we've got the need help section too. And this will have, if you're just getting started with Accountancy Manager, you've got your account setup section here. So this is little articles just to get you started. Everything from this is where your proposals are and how you share documents, how to brand your LOE, how to brand your client portal, and these will tick off as you do them as well. For any other questions, we've got the Need Help Centre. See at the top, we've got sort of the getting started, best practice, our previous onboarding webinars up here as well. And then it starts to split out into different sections. So if you've got a question about adding staff, it should be in here. It'll show you how to add a new user, reactivate an old user, turning off 2FA. Most things should be covered under here if we're not about.
Excellent, great stuff. Okay, so I've got, is there anything else you was going to go through, Rachel? Because I've got a few questions on.
No, that was pretty much it.
Excellent, thank you. Can the setup process of onboarding in a way that is automatic? Sorry, let me rephrase that. I'm reading as I'm talking. Can we automate the process of chasing missing information such as UTRs, VATs, VAYs? Absolutely.
Okay, so you'll see the good place to get a view of missing data is under missing data. So you can see here everything that you're missing for these clients. And it'll list it out here. Some of these will bother your clients about, some of these it won't. So for things like previous accounts clearance, it's not going to bother your clients about that, for example. But for things like personal UTR numbers, national insurance numbers, if we go settings, automation settings, it's at the very bottom left of the page. And you've got the option here to automatically request missing client details weekly. So that will email any client that's on that missing data list for you. And as you can see, the emails are generated on a Monday. So they'll be queued on a Monday at about 5:30, but not sent till Tuesday at about 5:30 if your queue's on paused. So if you're sending emails as they go. So you get 24 hours to review those emails. Obviously, if your queue is paused, you could just send them out at your leisure, delete any you don't want to, but you can automate that process.
We've had a question saying, can you import already prepared engagement letters into Accountancy Manager, or is it something we would have to do ourselves? Now, I think the question is asking, would the support team or would Accountancy Manager do that for our users? But I think it's quite a quick
Mm.
process anyway, isn't it?
It is. We don't import documents. So I mean, with documents, if you're coming from another program, you may just want to archive those documents and have kind of a line in the sand as to when you started with AM. If you're desperate to have them all on this database rather than getting fresh letters of engagement signed, you just need to pop onto the documents tab on the client file. You can upload up to 100 megabytes of documents in a single upload, but you can do as many uploads as you like. So if you've got a lot of documents that you've pulled off another program, you can also upload zip files. So you could put them in a compressed zip file and just drop them in here. So you have got that archive for them if you want to. You can also set up folders, so you could have like archive documents, working documents. So you can organize them that way, but you would have to add those yourself. You can't import them.
We've got a user here saying they've got a client with 4 companies. Will all 4 companies be showing in one client portal?
They would, yeah. So if we take a look at that. What I'm going to do is for British Gas, I'm going to change the main contact here. So on every client file, you've got main and secondary contact. In this box called person, this is kind of like your address book. This is your list of contacts. So we could say, actually, the contact for this business isn't James, it's David. And then the clearest place to see what your clients are going to see in their portal is under clients and then people. So if we come here, we say not registered on portal. We can see now when David signs into his portal on that little list we saw before on the documents drop down on the client's portal, he'd have British Gas and his self-assessment. So as long as you've got the same person assigned, as you'll see now if we were to open that up. So this is David's self-assessment client file. And it's saying it's David Church, he's your contact for British Gas, and he's got a self-assessment. If you were to add another limited company, you just apply the same person. So it's the person that registers for the portal, not the business, if that makes sense.
It does to me. We've had a question saying, can we print out the client information as a PDF? So the client file and all the information that's stored on there, can they print it out as a PDF?
You can't. No, it's not something I've heard suggested before. But I mean, we do have a feature request board that I think you'll have been emailed about a few weeks ago. So if you want to drop any suggestions in, the address is just featurerequest@accountancy-manager.co.uk.
Are there any charges for data storage?
There aren't. No. There's no limits on document storage at the moment with us, and there's no charge for data storage. That's included in your subscription.
Mia's asked, how do I add VAT to my proposals? I don't have the show VAT slide button, so it must have turned it off somewhere.
Will have done, yeah. So if you check under invoicing settings, the control for that is here, VAT settings. So I imagine on your account you've got this turned off, and then save settings. So you might just want to pop that back on again, and then they'll appear on your proposal emails.
So we also had another question. Can a client have the same portal email for more than one company? And we just covered that off, didn't we?
Yeah, because it's the same person, so it's the same email address.
Can you attach documents stored as resources direct to an email or a proposal, or do you have to download them and attach them?
For an individual email or proposal, you would have to download them and then attach them. You can store documents under your resources and use it with our, as if we just, to demonstrate it, just quickly upload one. And then save. If we come back to our client list now, if we do email all, yeah, it is. You've got, if you're saving them under resources, when you're using the bulk email function, you've got the option to select them there, but you haven't got that option when you're sending just an individual email or a proposal. Rachel,
could you just quickly pop back to the AML checks page? We had a question about the prices for the credits. It's done on a sliding scale is the answer. So the price per check depends on how many credits that you buy. So here it is. If you was just to buy the minimum order, it would be £2.99 each. If Rachel slides it down to the other ends, it goes down to £1.25 per check. So that's that one. So we've had questions saying if they've got clients that don't use the internet, Can they print out the letter of engagement? Again, I think we covered that off earlier. Yes, you can print out the letter of engagement and send it to them physically to sign.
You can, absolutely. Absolutely. You can do that for any clients as well. And it'd just be likely to pop to their LOE tab. Click the download PDF option, and then you've got a copy you can pop out in the post to them.
Had a question here about Go Proposal. The user uses OverSuite with Go Proposal. Can the letter of engagement be brought from Go Proposal?
So do we mean when the client signs it? Because usually with the Go Proposal integration, the client signs the letter of engagement in AM. So you'll see now this client signed the letter of engagement. You've got a copy of it here. So that's one that's signed to AM. If it had been signed through Go Proposal, so as soon as it is signed to Go Proposal, the both the letter of engagement and the proposal, they get sent to us by Go Proposal, and they drop them onto our timeline. So it'll drop the proposal through onto here and the letter of engagement. It will also automatically move them from being a client, a prospect to a client. It'll create the onboarding task automatically for you, and it'll turn on all the services so your tasks are in as well. The Go Proposal integration is quite smart.
Okay, so here's a good question for you. Is there an option to create tasks for clients that only appear on our task list and do not appear on their deadlines tab within the client portal? For example, they set themselves reminders for a lot of tasks that the clients do not need to be concerned with.
Oh, that is a good point. You don't want to give away all your secrets, do you?
Yes, absolutely.
So the deadlines tab, it'll just reflect the services. So in this case, we've got accounts turned on. So it would reflect that service and the deadline entered for that service here. If you were to just go task, new task, or you would set up a recurring task, that wouldn't be shown because it's not stored on the client info tab. So yeah, you can keep those from them.
Excellent. We've had a question. I think Brian might be not yet a user with Accountants Manager, saying we say on the website there's no long-term contracts, but what happens if they pay for a year in advance? So if you pay for the year in advance, you might as well use it for that year. We're not going to hold you to it, but if you've already paid for it, we obviously recommend that you use it. If you don't want to commit to a year, then I'll just recommend just paying monthly. So how can we see the value of all existing clients and compare that to potential clients?
Steve, that's under, so you've got a tool here called fee projection. That's under tools. Yeah, so you'll see here you've got all of your fees in for the year, and you can flick that between client statuses. So you've got, you can see just clients or just prospects. I currently don't have any prospects because we onboarded that one before, but that's where you'd find that information under tools fee projections.
Rachel, could you just show how to create a one-off ad hoc task, please?
Yeah, sure. So we've got tasks, new task. There's a few options here. So you don't have to select a client if you don't want to. You can just have a general office task. If you've got, I've seen them over the years, things like, clean out the cupboard on a Friday when all the records get dumped. Or you can put it in for an individual client. Again, you've got ultimate flexibility. You can assign it to any other staff member, change whatever deadline you want, set yourself a target date for it, add a task breakdown if you want to. I'm just going to click save on that. And then you can see it just drops straight onto the task list for you, just as any other task would, but it wouldn't be shown on the deadlines tab because the deadline's not stored on the client's file.
Right. Is there a general registration terms template that can be tailored to your business, like letter engagements? This user's currently saying that here shows a blank template. It
does. We should put it in blank as default because we find most people don't use registration terms. There is, though. It'll be showing on my demo account here as not being blank, but there is a button. So if you click edit next to that template, there's a button here that says, are you an ACCA member? You can apply the ACCA terms. So you could apply those. Obviously, if you're not an ACCA member, you're going to want to change those quite extensively. If you contact your own governing body, they should be able to provide some guidance on what to include in those terms.
Excellent. We're coming to the last few questions now. So if there is anything that got a burning desire to ask, please speak now, forever hold your peace. Louise is asking about any more news on mass deleting emails from Email Manager, and for those that are not yet linked.
Not at the second. It's all hands on deck to get tasks and workflow out at the moment.
And for prospects, we still have to have the ability to chase people that are signed terms and conditions, but not letter engagements. I've stopped getting email notifications for terms and conditions are signed, but you get LOE notifications signed when done.
I'd get in, if you could get in touch with us at support@accountingmanager.co.uk about that one, because you should still be getting the notifications when registration terms are signed. That shouldn't just be for LOEs. Yep, so go ahead, John.
So I was going to say, Hannah, I'm coming to your question last. One final question: how do we create a list of birthdays? Is that possible?
It's a good question, isn't it? Yes, it's completely possible. So any field on here, any field that's stored on the client's file, you can have here. So you could look up date of birth and just add a column in for that. If this gentleman had a date of birth in it, it'd show up on there. So that would probably be a good way to pull a list of birthdays. And then if you filtered this page for any information at all, so we could actually say, I just want to see the birthdays for my self-assessment clients. There we are. And then we've only got self-assessment clients. When you click export, it'll just export the data you filtered for on this screen. So that would be the best way to do it.
Cool. We've had a question saying, can AM be customized for a sole practitioner? We have, lots and lots of sole practitioners using the system, don't we, Rachel?
I'm probably running into thousands, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Can you import already prepared engagement letters into Accountancy Manager? I think we spoke about this earlier.
Yeah, you can't import them, but you can just copy and paste them. So if you've got ones in say Word already that you've been using for years and years and years, you can literally just copy and paste them into these boxes. So yeah, I mean our letters of engagement are service driven. So every client's going to get the box mark start and the box mark end. You'll see as we scroll down here, though, everything else in between is driven by that services required section. So if you ticked on accounts, they get the schedule for accounts and so on. You've got bookkeeping, CT 600. So if you've got an existing letter of engagement, you just need to break it down into those boxes, and it would function in exactly the same way that your letters always had them, basically.
Okay, I'm just going to answer two last questions, and we're going to wrap up for today's session. Will you create additional time button in the client view so a time spent report for a single client can be generated? Sounds like a roadmap one, doesn't it, Rachel?
It is. That's one for James, isn't it? We'll pass that over to him later.
Again, we keep referring back to the product boards. You have the facility to go and vote for what functionality you'd like us to see working on next. We always encourage user feedback, so please do feel free to use that facility. We also sent out a survey on Monday asking for user feedback on where you want to see the product going. So we please do provide us all the feedback that you want to. So the final question from Hannah is, what is the next webinar on and when is it? Rachel's looking confused because we've not yet decided is the honest answer. I would imagine it probably depends on the new workflow tool we keep talking about and when that's released. It is very, very close to going live. So we'll me and Rachel will chat offline and obviously share all the details about the next session as and when they're decided.
We will do. And if you do want to get on the roadmap in the meantime, if you need to be logged into your account, but you can just go to accountsmanager.co.uk/roadmap. And this is the roadmap John has referenced. So you can see currently what's under consideration, what we've got in development, and what's been recently launched on there. So you can submit ideas to us. You can vote. So you can see we've got a few votes for these. Some ideas we've had about time for those of you that have asked about time today. So that might be somewhere to spend this afternoon.
Excellent. Okay, everybody, I think we've answered all the questions in the Q&A box. I just want to say thanks everyone for attending today's session. I hope it's been really, really informative. Rachel, well done. I think you've covered off some really great grounds. So well done to you. And yes, I suppose that just leaves me nothing else to say, but thanks very much to everybody. And I'll send out the recording this afternoon of this session, and we'll share details of the next session as and when they've been decided.
Thanks for organising it, John. Thanks for attending, everyone.
Thank you. Bye now.